Welcome to Aquarium 911, where I help you with your aquarium problems. Today, we have a question from Casey that is concerning some loss of some fish and general water parameters in their tank. So, let's get into the email, get an understanding of what the problem is, and then go through my steps of how I would resolve the situation going forward. Hello, Mr. Pasco. I'm a subscriber to your YouTube channel and look forward to the new episodes every week. My Aquarium 911 concerns a 15-gallon tank that currently houses a single small black moor goldfish. Recently, I added 4 platies that all perished within 10 days. I'm going to stop for a half second. My condolences, because it's never fun when we add new fish and we're getting excited, and then we lose some or all of those fish, because immediately, right, we blame ourselves, we feel bad, we've lost things that we are taking care of. It's not fun, and it sucks. And it's one of the unfortunate parts about this particular hobby. They appeared healthy at a reputable fish store. They initially appeared fine in the 15-gallon. They were active and ate well. 5 days in, 2 were found dead with no signs of disease or stress. A couple of days later, a 3rd platy was hanging out near the surface, not eating, and perished soon after. The 4th and final platy experienced the same fate on day 10. I'm 99.9% certain the black moor did not bully them to death. He seemed to ignore them. My initial concern was an ammonia spike, but test results found 0 ammonia, 0 nitrite, and a low nitrate of 5 ppm. pH sits at 7.8, and my GH and KH both tested at 71.6 ppm. The temperature sits at 75 degrees. The water is filtered via hang-on-the-back filter with a pre-filter and reusable sponge in place of the cartridge. And biomedia is also used in the hang-on-the-back. There is an air stone in place along with low lighting. Plants are Anubias barderi and Java moss. The tank has been running for 3 years. I should mention, our water supply is a well that passes through a water softening system. While the well water is not hard, it has very high iron that the softener reduces. Bypassing the softener is not a good idea, as untreated, the water leaves an orange residue on home fixtures from the iron content, and I would not want that orange residue showing up in my aquariums. I wouldn't either, so I don't necessarily blame you there. While the water softener has not stripped away all of the magnesium and calcium, given the GH reading, could my somewhat low levels have killed the platies so quickly? I cannot think of any other reason, and if it is the hardness level that needs raised, any thoughts on how to accomplish this without raising the pH even higher? I have 2 other tanks that house plants and more soft water species, such as tetras, rasboras, etc. And those tanks are running fine, although the pH levels are certainly not ideal at 7.8. Thank you for your consideration, Casey. Can the GH being so soft be a problem? Most of your live bearers really do prefer hard water. They want a relatively good amount of mineral content in their water. And by going from hard water to softer water, this can cause a lot of stress that can cause all sorts of different issues, whether that's bacterial or just general stress that can cause a fish to pass away. I've seen this before, typically with water that is too acidic on fish that like a mineral content, but your water is fairly soft while still having a high pH. So the question is, what I would try to look at is maybe go into the place that you bought your fish from and just ask them like, hey, when you water test your water, what do the parameters look like? Because you might find out that they have like 300-400 TDS general hardness, and that much of a difference in hardness is going to cause a lot of stress on fish. Now, there are ways to kind of buffer or deal with this slowly. I would stress less about the pH. Your pH can kind of only go so high, realistically speaking. I know some people are going to beat me over the comments about this, but we want to think about this in the most general terms. It can only go so high, and a majority of your fish are going to be pretty capable of handling a small raise. And the way that I would do this, especially in like a 15-gallon, is I would just get a small amount of crushed coral. Like, think about like if something like this bag of shrimp food, right, was a small media bag. And I would just put, like, not a big heaping handful, but like a small amount you could hold in your hand easily into a small media bag and either put it in the hang on the back, or you could disperse it among the substrate. Crushed coral is really good at raising general hardness specifically, but it can also bring a small amount of carbonate hardness as well, which helps stabilize pH. Now granted, doesn't sound like you're having pH issues, but you do have a fairly low mineral content and carbonate hardness content, so there is a risk there that there might be some kind of false reading in your pH. I actually doubt that that's the problem, but I do think that if you were going from, say, like 400 plus TDS at your local fish store into that like 70 TDS, that is a significant swing in hardness and mineral content that could cause a reasonable amount of stress to the fish that you're bringing into your tank. Is this guaranteed to be exactly what's killing them? No. They could have a number of different issues and appear generally healthy to our eye, but might have some kind of other thing going on. This is why we generally suggest having a quarantine tank and keeping new fish under quarantine so that you can observe them and see what's going on without any risk to your other tanks or that wonderful Blackmore goldfish of yours. Here's how I would approach this. Let's try raising the hardness a little bit. Crushed coral is the easiest way. It's cheap. You can buy a reasonable bag of it for not a lot of money. You can also do this with crushed oyster shell. One of the easiest ways to get those is typically like Asian markets if you have one nearby, but if you don't, a little bit of crushed coral is probably not too hard to get. I would imagine that your local fish store probably has some of that, or maybe they have an amount of aragonite sand. It's effectively the same thing, it's just ground down finer. That'll do the trick. What we're trying to do is get a small amount and a controlled amount in a media bag. You could use something more like a fine mesh that's like, think like cheesecloth or something like that, but not specifically cheesecloth, in order to get it in there, or you could just distribute it in the substrate. And what that's going to do is just raise your general hardness and your carbonate hardness a little bit. It shouldn't have too much of an effect on your pH, given that your pH is naturally already pretty high. And instead, we'll just slowly add a little bit of mineral content and help buffer that lower mineral content you have. Do this slowly over time. So like, as an example, let's say you had like a scoop like this, right? I know this is like tiny, but just think of it like something else. You could find maybe a tablespoon or something like that, and add a small amount and wait like a week. And then add a small amount and wait like a week. Let your water slowly come up. And the reason why we want to do that is so that, one, we don't stress that goldfish out by suddenly dumping a bunch of hardness in and your water suddenly having a big shift. But two, that way we can control it and we can slowly add small amounts until we have hit kind of a higher target. And maybe that target is something like 160 to 200 TDS. Maybe it's something more close to like 100 or 120 range. Maybe you want more than that. And that can depend on like what your local store is like and how much you want to add to your personal tank without seeing too big a change in your pH. So if we do that slow and steady, we can kind of observe and use our testing results to inform us when we've hit like the sweet spot that we want to target. And then from there, you can look at trying either platies or other species that tend to like that stronger hardness in their water. Live bearers are most common for this. Or just don't be afraid to put some other softer water species in that tank, because despite the fact the pH is high, it's more about the GH and KH informing you. I would worry less about the pH number. Fish, in general, are pretty capable at adapting to that part. It's when we have really big shifts all of a sudden, like they came from pH 7.5 and all of a sudden you got pH 6 and you didn't do like a slow acclimation period or something like that. That's where the risk comes in. When you have kind of stable pH and you probably are in an area that has naturally high pH water as is, I wouldn't stress about that too much. Let's just focus on bringing that mineral content up just a little bit if we really want to pursue something like live bearers like platies, swordtails, guppies, etc. Casey, I really hope that helps. For those of you who are watching along, have you had an experience like this? Did you get to the bottom of what the problem was? Let me know in the comments down below. Now, there could be some other things. I want to be very, very clear, but I think the most likely case here is a hardness issue. And the fastest way that we'll figure that out is by checking with the local fish store. And if their mineral content is very similar to yours, come back to me and let me know, and I'll follow up pretty fast, because then that means we want to look at a few other things, and that would definitely say, let's get a quarantine tank so we're not risking spreading any potential diseases that we didn't see obvious signs of. If you've enjoyed this video, give it a like. If you're not subscribed, consider subscribing. Like, comment, subscribe. Those three things are free and the fastest and most powerful way to tell Papa YouTube, hey, I like what this person is doing, and someone else might too. It helps prevent all those nasty sponsorship nonsense things, so I'm not advertising like a mattress or some weird cereal to you on a fish channel. As always, my friends, thank you so much for watching, and stay awesome.